Welcome back to Stationeers. Today we're going to be building a power management system, I think. And you can see I've already removed this battery from here. One quick note from last episode, someone did say you shouldn't connect batteries to batteries in series because the cable in between them, or at least not without a transformer, because the cable in between them, batteries can serve power extremely high rates to the next battery in the chain, so it could even burn out this cable. Don't know whether that's true or not, but I was removing this battery anyway, so it didn't much matter to me. So you see now there are 4 batteries in operation, and they're all connected to the input of this transformer. Have I actually put them anywhere else? Let me just check. No. Okay, we're not currently sending the this power supply elsewhere, so we could send it that way to our other transformers and have everything in parallel. No, we're not doing that just yet, but that's an easy change, and we don't really need to see that on camera too much. So what we're going to be doing today is power management, as I said. What is power management? So what we really want to do is we want to not have to come out here, no matter how many rows of these things we have, to see how much power we've got available. What I'd like is a simple percentage display that says, you know, it's 99% full, cool, no problems whatsoever, and then we can do other things based on that number, and we'll get to that in a little while. To get started, we are going to need to hook up the data ports for the battery, because I got an idea after someone said, well, the only reason I really use the data ports for the battery is to really manage power, so I thought I'd do an episode on that. So as you can see, we definitely don't want it to interfere with either this cable, nor do we want it connected into this cable at the back, because that's the power input, so there could be up to 5 kilowatts running through that during, you know, any time during the day, pretty much, with this number of solar panels. And we don't want to connect that side with this side, because this is also potentially another 5 kilowatts. Ugh, of course the filter's low. Why? Honestly. Do I have a spare filter? I thought I'd created one. Nope. 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 Okay. I'm making another filter. Nitrous oxide, please. Nitrous. Yes, we'll just go for one of those. That's fine. And while that's printing out, we're going to be placing down some other bits and pieces. I'm going to need at least a batch slot reader, and the batch slot reader will let me read, I think, the batteries and well, maybe even a batch regular reader. Let me just find out. Let me just grab our tablet. And let's just switch that on. Is that in configuration mode? It is. So let's look at the battery. What I want to see is, yeah, there we go. We got charge and we got maximum. So I'm interested in one divided by the other, essentially. So that is quite useful that I've got them. Or we could just take the ratio. The ratio would work fine as well, but we still got to calculate it somehow. So yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Other than that, I don't think. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so let's quickly set up some kind of electronics then. So I want to set up a certainly a batch reader, if nothing else, batch reader. And if that isn't the case, if it's not the right one, then we'll look at batch slot reader. But I think batch reader may well do this job. And I'm just going to turn this around just because the cable is going to be on this side. So I'm going to place it sort of there-ish. Yeah, that should do the job. And then we're also going to need an IC, because we're going to be doing a little bit of programming today. It's not too much by comparison. If you're sort of intimidated by the program for this satellite dish, don't worry, it's not going to be that complicated, I promise, by comparison. Ooh, there's my filter. So let's get that in and running. There we go, and let's sort those. So that's the right way around. Almost time for another batch of recycling. Where was I? So yes, we're going to need an IC. So let's just get the IC printed. IC integrated circuit. Start you up. And then we also need a housing and a computer. I think I've already deconstructed a computer from somewhere, so I should be able to just move it over. So you see we've got one that is almost out of charge, or out of charge entirely potentially. Yep, that's at 0. This one's at 500,000. Don't know what these units are. We don't really care too much what the units are. Whether they're joules, it doesn't matter. So let's not worry about it. And what? Have you finished? Ah, nearly done. Okay. I'll need to cut forwards while I just get the IC housing and the IC itself. Then I'm just going to hook up the wires. We're going to probably deconstruct this frame and just send the wire underneath and over this way a little bit, just so that I have no problems with the wire getting interfered with. I don't want it to connect to anything else over here. So back in a second once I've got that wiring in. Remember when I said batteries can provide power to batteries more than the actual cable can deal with? Yep, that right there is what happens if you do that. So, yep, we can cut you out and put you back in. You could put fuses in the way, you could put transformers in the way. Just don't connect them in series, otherwise you're liable to get one cable mysteriously disappear, and then everything goes dead, and you wonder why, because these are both off, but these are both have charge, but they're not serving charge because somewhere along the cable length you have a broken cable. So I just reorganized everything around here. This is nice and neat now. So we've got everything running. I do need some more cable coil, so I'm going to need to print a little bit more of that. That's nearly done, and then we are going to need a computer, so I need to hook that up as well. You're also, if you're following my layout, going to need a transformer as well, because you need a power input to this somewhere, and power is a bit of a problem because it's interrupted on this side without going into the air or vastly underground. It's a problem anyway, so easiest thing to do is just get another transformer and bring this around here, and then we can hook up the sort of input power, if you like. Where are we going to put this? Is there any way to get this so that it's nice and neat? I sort of want to put it maybe there. Get that the right way around. Yeah, because then we can feed from this, which is the same as everything else in the base, and we can feed directly into here. So if we just grab this for a second, this should be okay to separate like this. And this side we need to go for heavy, so let's get that exchanged, and let's just get a corner. There we go. Okay, so that should be connected. And we need to increase the power. That's fine there, and not that it'll need that much power. And yeah, let's get this sorted. So everything has power, that's good. Good sign. And then we just grab our IC. It shouldn't be able to see one thing anyway, so IC housing, import, there is nothing there other than this, which makes this really, really easy to configure. Definitely recommend, if you're not already using them, please do use the subnetworks. So from here, I just want to weld this floor back in place before I forget. I think this one's iron, so I'll grab you. Yep, and the other one is steel, so let's put the floor back. There it is. And that's that done. Great. Now let's get to the configuring of the batch reader. Let's turn this on. And we want to be reading the... let's take a look, the stationary battery, and then we can read particular kind of things. So I want to, let's just read ratio to get started with. Okay, and let's read the sum of the ratios. Okay, that's exactly what I want, I think. 1 second, let's just grab our tablet. So turn that on. So ratio is 0.7. And that's 0.8. This one is 0.35. No, that's not what I want, clearly. Although, no, it's definitely not what I want. No. Okay, that's fine. We'll just change to something else. Let's take a look at what else we can actually read with this. I want to have some of these things. Let's take a look. Power actual, no. On, mode, maximum. Well, I can read in the maximum. That's only reading 2 of these. That's probably why. That one's connected. And that one is also connected. That should be reading more than just those 2. Oh. You know, if you're going to connect more than 2, you should probably connect more than 2. That's what I always say. Yeah. So... if you're going to do that, do connect them. There we go. Okay, now ratio is probably going to be the right thing here. Let's just get this going to the right place. There we go. And let's get it going upwards. And yeah, it's nice when the system actually gives you an accurate answer, but you think it's being awful. Right. So let's change that again. So not maximum, we want ratio. So 1.75, that's actually more, that's fine. It's going to be not out of 1 now, remember, it's going to be out of 4. So 1.75 is going to be just under half, and that looks about right, doesn't it? Yep, just under half, you add all these together. So that is probably going to be okay. And then I'm going to just rename it because I just want to read. This is going to be some battery sum of batteries ratio. Okay, that's fine. Then we're going to hook this up to here. So I'm going to just use that onto the port 0. So well, that's got a few things here, but we're going to hook directly onto this batch reader. I'm going to want a display, at least temporarily, although we can use the housing, I suppose. But I kind of like a display anyway for this, regardless. And this might be something I put up in the air somewhere so that I can see it if I need to. For that, I think I have the consoles I had up on the roof before. We're just going to put those down and probably put this into a large sign of some kind. Console LED display large. So I may need to put this onto some kind of frame. Let me just put it onto the floor first, shall we? And yeah, let me just connect that. And then I can just grab some of this cable and feed directly in. Okay, and then I'm going to hook that display up to, should we change it to here? Yeah, let's just set it to pin 1. And then I'm going to reserve some more pins for later. So I'm going to turn that housing on, and right now it doesn't do a thing. So let's get to the programming. Okay, so usual programming, let's get started with the devices. So alias, let's say the battery ratio, or batteries ratio. That should be fine. Let's just say battery ratio. Let's treat it as a single large battery because we're not reading individual batteries here. We can just read it off. So that is going to work fine, and we're just going to have D0. And then alias, the display, is going to be D1. And I'm just going to change that, etc. So I just say D battery ratio and D display, just so you can identify later in the program. Not that it's going to be very long, just that what's a ratio, what's a register, and what's a device. And then I'm going to also set up the internal registers. So I just want to probably have the R battery ratio, okay, as R0. And then do we want anything else? Yes, I think I'm just going to have like a separate thing to say battery or our percentage, our battery percentage. It's a bit long, but it'll do. And then we've got the 2 internal values to deal with. First thing we'll do is just do a jump loop as we normally would do. Whoops, that's actually the wrong way around. Whoops, loop, and then yield and jump loop. So we've got the basics of a program. We just save that off and export it. And of course, that shouldn't have any problems because it's not actually doing anything right now. So in between here, all we're really going to do, first of all, is just read in with L. So scroll down to L, wherever L is, and load device variable to register. Okay, so let's have a look on the values here. So device variables. And this is what we can load into the register. We want ratio, I think, I would have thought. So let's just take, or setting even it could be. It's a batch reader. So let's just try that first. So load into our battery ratio. Okay. And then we want the device we're going to load it from. So D battery ratio. And then maybe setting. And let's just store straight out to the device base, something we can just look at. The into setting. I can always remember which way around this is. S. You'd think I remember this, even though I do this more often. But battery ratio. Okay, so will you actually output that? If we just export you, are you settings? And that looks like you're perfectly fine. So yes, that is working, and you can see them starting to rotate during the nighttime. Okay, so we now know we have the correct battery ratio. What we don't really have, and let's just have a look here. I don't think, in fact, this is going to go wrong because I need to just change things over. Let's just take a look at what else we actually have here. Can we actually see that on the tablet? I don't think we can with one of these things. Where's my tablet? There it is. No, we just have a setting and nothing else. Fine. It'll do. It's just be nice to have an in-game idea for that. So prefab hash, no. Power potential, no, that's not it. No, I don't want power actual. I don't want on or mode. Maximum, well, sort of. Yeah, no. Charge, no. Okay, let's just set it back to ratio for now. Because ratio should be independent of the number of batteries. The only thing is I can't tell what that number is out of. So what you're going to need to do then is just at the top here, unless anyone knows if you can get the number of batteries connected, that will be handy, because then I don't need to ask you to change anything in this. But we're going to say number batteries 4 in my case. You just replace that with however many batteries you got connected to this thing. Okay, so the reason why we want that is we need to be able to work out a percentage, and percentage, well, as you might imagine, needs us to divide one thing by another. So if we take, for example, the battery ratio, so we're just going to then set up something in battery percentage, we need to just divide. So if we just go up to here to div or divide, it should be around here somewhere. Yep, register equals A divided by B. So div into our battery percentage, and then we want to say A divided by B. So we want to do our battery ratio. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by num batteries. Okay, and then we will actually output that as well. So percentage. Okay. So set that, export it, and now what do you say? You say 0.375. So then, well, in fact, we just need to do one more thing. Just here, remember that's a fraction, so we just need to multiply. So multiply our battery percentage by our, well, that's what it's storing. So our battery percentage 100. Okay. Export. And now we get 36.91, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that is the percentage of maximum that we currently have stored in our batteries. So we should be able to then export that to the display. So D1's the display. So if we just store that onto the display, so store D display setting, and then the R battery percentage, confirm that, export it, and then we need to turn on the display. 36.2 blah. Okay, now I like that and I don't like it. The reason why I like it is it's nice and big, so we can put that up in the air somewhere and take a look at exactly how much battery we have at any particular point. Why I don't like it is that's too many decimal places. It's just fluctuating too much. What I would actually like, just looking at it, if you can have a look at that, the only digit that's really moving is this first decimal place, really. And we can see that's draining constantly. So what I want to do is I want to change this to be a lower number of decimal places. Now you can't easily do that just by saying, you know, when you divide, but with 2 decimal places, please, because this isn't a high-level programming language. It's very, very low level. So we've got to manipulate something around here. Now the simplest way of doing it, and by all means do this, is using floor. And if you want to floor it to just no decimal places, you can just use it directly as it says right here. So floor, and then the 2 things. So our battery percentage, and I really wish this had tab completion, our battery percentage. Okay, and confirm, export, and now you get 34. That's the number, that's a percentage, so you could have it being quite large. But I want this to be better than that. I want this to be able to let you have configuration of, well, basically the number of decimal places. So how are we going to change that? Well, for me, I want 1 decimal place. So instead, if we just change this from, let's say, we're timesing it by 100 here. So if we times it by 1,000, let's look at what happens. So if we have a look at this, you'll see it's 337. Okay, cool. So that now has a decimal place. It just doesn't have the decimal place right there. So if we then, because it's still being floored, but if after we floor it, we basically divide it by our battery store this back in percentage again. Our battery percentage. I know, it's odd. Percentage. And then 10. So we've multiplied it by an extra 10, divided by an extra 10, export. You'll see we now have a nice, stable number. And it should start going up again because the sun is about to come up. So this hopefully should reverse itself. There it goes. So it's going to start gaining again. I like that a lot more. It doesn't say 33.0 if it's on 0, so that's slightly annoying for me. But I guess, yeah. And if you wanted to go another decimal place, you could just add another 0 to each of those things. So let's just export that. And you can see now it is actually increasing. And if you wanted something that's moving a lot more, then by all means do that. I don't actually want that, so I want to reduce that down. There we go. So export that, and we get something quite nice as a display. I like that a lot. So we have a display now that gives us an accurate percentage of the total or how full our power system is. From that, what we want to be able to do is, if we get too low, we want to be able to boost our power. Now we have another way of doing this. There is what we started with right at the very start of the game. Right there, a solid generator. Now a solid generator is kind of handy. It just burns coal, or the equivalent of coal. And if we pop that down, let's just get this connected. It has a data side and it has a power side. So if I'm not going to be needed out here, technically we could put it this way around. And I don't need anything other than the data connection and the power connection. So let's put it, I don't know, there. Okay. And then we can hook everything back together. So let's just get some straight cable and let's get our cable there. I need to just get some heavy cable on this side, and that is just going to be a corner piece. Okay, so that is the solid generator connected to everything else. And if we just grab, whoa, I've put my screwdriver somewhere. It's probably in an input port somewhere that I've missed. No, I hate it when I do this. Anyone seen a screwdriver? Someone let me know in the comments. I'll probably find it later after the recording. It's normally in one of the inputs to the machines, like over here. It's normally in one of those. Anyway, where was I? Yes. I was talking about the fuel generator. I hope I don't need it. I can get it from one of the other belts. Anyway, we can turn this on and off, and it will actually start burning coal, and we'll start delivering power. So what we're going to do is, first of all, just grab some coal. I hope I've got some. Yeah, there's some there. That'll do. And we'll just drop this in here. You could just have a chute connected to this with a long enough chute, and you have a repository, so you could wrap it up over the top, back down, and then have an input bin or something like that. Then whatever you actually wanted to do. This, if we turn it on, will start supplying power. Okay, and you see that's down to 49. But we don't want to have to do that manually. We want to do that automatically. So we need to have up here define low ratio, low percentage, low trigger. Yeah, low trigger. And let's just say that's 50. 50. Okay, so 50% is what this trigger is. It's not 50 in sort of joules or anything. So down here we need to make an assessment of just before yield here. If low trigger is, well, if the current battery percentage is lower than the low trigger, then we want to output a 1. Basically, we want to turn on our solid generator. So if we have a look down here in the S's, we want SLT, I think. SLT. So register equals 1 if A is less than B, otherwise 0. That looks right. So up here, I'm also going to then set something else. So I'm going to set alias emergency. Okay, emergency power. And I'm going to set that to R2. And up here, I'm going to alias D solid generator to D2. And that's not connected right now, but it will be. Okay, when I find my screwdriver. I knew I'd need it for something. Anyway, further down. So all we really need to do here then is SLT into our emergency power. And let's just see if A is less than B. So if our battery percentage is less than low trigger. Okay, and that should output a 1 if it's low, and it is right now. Well, I may need to adjust that level, but we'll just store onto DB, the device base, the setting, our emergency power. So this will tell me if the thing should be actually triggering or not. So if I'm going to press export, it should be 1 right now, and it is. As soon as I go over 50, that should switch back to 0. So let's just turn you on. So that's going to go up. That I was hoping that to go up faster, faster than this, but yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's 49.5, and you'll see that state change to 0 in a couple of seconds. So 49.9, 50, and there it goes back to 0. So what's going to happen is as soon as it goes back and forwards, but before or before it goes, whenever it goes above 50, it will turn off, and below 50, it will turn back on again. Now, it could fight that value. It could go 49, 50, 49, 50. That is something that you can deal with the programming equivalent of a Schmidt trigger. If you don't know what that is, if that word or those set of words just went right above your head, maybe I'll do that in another episode. But basically, all that it is, a Schmidt trigger is a fancy way of saying, hey, turn it on if it drops below 50, but then if it goes above 60, turn it back off again. And then when it drops below 60, it won't turn back on unless it drops below 50. So there's this wide band where the thing will stay on rather than just having one set level. And we'll do that with some other programming because it's useful in other different ways. Definitely when we get to the gas circuit. But for now, because we're either going to be losing power or we should have excess power, I'm not going to worry about it unless it starts just flickering this thing on and off, etc. So I will leave it alone for now. So that is, well, the 1 and 0. All we need to do now is find where my screwdriver is and hook that up to this, because we then need to control that. So excuse me for a minute while I try to figure out where I put my screwdriver. Yeah, back in a second. You see, before you manage to comment, I put it right there. See? It was when I swapped the solid generator out. I clearly had this in my hand. So yeah, let's just get that connected and everything should be up and running. So D2 here, we want to connect up to the, not stationary batteries. We want to connect this up to the solid fuel generator. And then I need to just go and quickly check what we can access on a solid fuel generator. I think it's just going to be on, to be honest. Yeah, it is just going to be on. That's fine. So I'll turn you back off. And then we are going to just go to here to edit. And instead of storing it to the device base here, what I actually want to store it to is the on, first of all, on of D2, which is D solid generator. So D solid generator. Okay, confirm, export, and nothing's going to happen. Now, if I just change this to, oh, that's 59.1. Let me just change this value to 60. 60, there we go, confirm, export. There it goes, it's going in, and it should turn itself off in about a second or two. There it goes. Pretty cool, yeah? There is a slight bug where that is normally shut, and it should stay shut. I think that's a bug in the game, though. I don't think that's anything to do with my code. It happens if I do it manually as well. That should shut, and then, but now, right now, it just shuts and opens even while it's on. Anyway, we've got a nice display. We've got a battery management system, or a power management system, whatever you actually want to call this, and that will guard you against low power situations, that cleans out your base entirely. Well, unless your base is pulling more power than this thing can actually generate, in which case, well, there's no real hope for you. But because this is kicking in at 50%, then it should give you a lot more time anyway. So that's a good idea. So that's pretty much everything. I will put this program as normal on a paste bin so you can take a look at that. And there are other ways of doing this this thing here where we're multiplying and then dividing. We could create a loop basically where we got up here we have define num decimal places 2,
and then we go through a loop and then multiply by the number of things in the loop. But to be honest, I don't think you guys are going to need, we basically need to multiply it by 0, by 10, then 10 again, and then, divide it by 1 minus that amount. That minus 1 or something like that. It doesn't matter. Or minus 2, I should say. It doesn't matter because this should be pretty much ideal as it is. I don't think you're going to need to change that much. If so, just remember to change those two numbers. Nice and easy to actually go through and figure out what's going on. And everything is pretty good. So it's now night time. The percentage is falling again. And that will kick on if it needs to. Otherwise, we're done for the episode, I think. So I hope you really enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any improvements, put them in the comments down below. More than happy to hear about those. I have mentioned a couple of things you can all improve, of course, in the program itself. And maybe we'll reapproach that with some more fancy stuff like a Schmidt trigger. Maybe next episode or the one after or something like that. I just want to get this really up and running for my own base, really, more than anything else. Otherwise, we'll see you next episode for some more Stationeers. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.